Good morning, everyone. Just everyone that's coming in right now, just want to give you guys heads up. We're waiting for the trainer. Let's give her a few more minutes. Wendy with Title Now, she is with us, and
I'm here
we're gonna
actually.
get started soon. Oh, okay.
Wendy, you got to
I
unmute
can't hear you,
yourself.
Wendy.
Good morning. Yes, Karen just joined us. So Karen is our trainer at our underwriter, and I want to just thank her because she takes our time to give us these classes that
I don't.
She froze.
Yeah, I was for a second there. I was wondering if it was my internet or if it was hers,
No,
because
it's
I'm
Wendy's
actually working
screen.
on hotspot.
for
There you are, Wendy. You stopped for a minute.
You froze.
okay. All right. Sorry. Yeah, it's telling me I have an unstable connection. I'm sorry.
That's
They've
all right.
But I just wanted to, introduce myself. My name is Wendy Delgado. I'm owner and founder of Title Now. We're an attorney-owned and operated title company. We service the entire state of Florida. I'll put my contact information for everyone to have it. We do things, we've been in the industry for 20 plus years collectively with my attorney and my other business partner. Karen Michaels is our trainer for our underwriter. With that being said, I'll go ahead and let Karen start with her presentation. If anyone has any questions, you can reach out to me afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you, Wendy. All right.
Thank you, Wendy.
All right. We are going to get started. So we're going to talk about becoming a successful listing agent. This is actually a really good topic for today's environment, especially with the proposed National Association of Realtors settlement regarding the commissions and all of that. So good time to maybe start thinking about how to get more listings. We're going to have a wide variety of topics. We've got listing agents versus buyer's agents, becoming the best listing agent in your area, marketing ideas, and then a touch base on listing presentations as well as some other ideas. So I've got scripts, I've got a whole bunch of things. My favorite part of this, though, is the thinking outside the box to get more listings. And I've been following a lot of these articles that Florida Association of Realtors has been putting out regarding this. So it's a good resource for you too. They have these things called Take 5 videos where the various real estate agents will, or anyone in the industry will do a quick little 5-minute video on a bunch of different subjects, but they have a couple on becoming a listing agent or becoming a successful listing agent, I should say. So really good information out there, and always good to think outside the box, especially in this market. So let's get started. A couple of things that I want to touch on is the difference between a listing agent and a buyer's agent. We have these 6 differences. There's of course more than this, but just to give you an idea of, some of the things that a listing agent is not going to run into, such as a buyer's agent. Well, so 1, contractually obligated to work with you, controlling your time, etc. So the first one is sellers are contractually obligated to work with you. Now, this may change with that National Association of Realtors proposed settlement. It's a proposed settlement. It hasn't been approved by the courts. But if it does get approved by the courts, then buyers will also be contractually obligated to work with you in the future. But currently, we don't have that issue. We have the exclusive right to sell, and that is going to be between the seller and the listing agent. It's a legally binding document. It's a contract. So a seller can't just decide to use whatever agent they want once they have this listing agreement signed. Currently, a buyer would be able to use whoever they want. And in fact, they do. They go online, they search for homes, they contact several real estate agents. They may even use one real estate agent to look at homes and another real estate agent to close that property. And they have that option because there's not an exclusive agreement as of yet. That's required or even used that often here in Florida. Obviously, with the seller, seller's not going to have a bunch of different real estate agents working on their property. They're going to pick one, and that's why we have that contract. So with this, seller can't just decide to go use another agent without breaching that contract. Second benefit would be controlling your time better. You get to set the appointments for the open house, or for your appointments, your open houses, etc. It's a lot easier to have a 9-to-5 job and not work weekends. With a buyer, you know, you're really at their mercy in terms of showing properties after work, showing properties on weekends. As a listing agent, maybe you have a more 9-to-5, 40-hour work week. Statistically, you are guaranteed 2 buyers from each listing. And how does that come about? Well, you could potentially have the seller of that property be a buyer on a future property, or on a property they're looking at now. But there's also the people that come to the open house or reach out to you because they're interested in the property. Maybe that's not the property for them, but the best thing about it is you can convert that person into potentially that buyer for you. Because you know what they're looking for, you know what they want. If they're interested in that home and the amenities in it, maybe there's another home you have. So that's the statistics. You get 2 buyers out of 1 listing. Farming, we're going to get into that in a little bit when we talk more about marketing, but this is where you pick a neighborhood and start marketing campaign to get those homeowners to notice you. It's typically in the area you live in, which, depending on where you are, I mean, we have a lot of subdivisions here in Florida that you start marketing in the area you live in. This is, you become the hometown realtor, and that becomes your niche marketing area. Everything you do goes directly into selling the home, open houses, pitch sessions, social media posts. So the cost is going to be focused on that, as opposed to marketing yourself to try and get buyers in. This is to go to sell this home. This is what I'm going to get my commission based on. Hopefully there's less stress. You're not working with the buyer, especially if that buyer is getting a loan. Going through the financing piece, trying to make sure they're getting the inspections done, they're meeting those timelines, because the buyer does have quite a bit to do to kind of get to closing. And you, as the buyer's agent, babysit them quite a bit. Listing agent, maybe a little bit less stress. There's always stress in our industry, though. So it's just some ideas to become the best listing agent in your area, or really, actually, even the best real estate agent. They're going to be tied in together. But these are the top 10. There are a bunch of other things you can do as well, but this comes from, it's just some of the research I've done. And I think in terms of what consumers want from real estate agents is going to drive a lot of this. So the first one is communication. Now, each year, the National Association of Realtors does a study of the different generations. So baby boomers, millennials, Gen X, all of that. And they try and find out kind of what their buying and selling needs are, what they want in a real estate agent, all of that. And across the board, every generation, every consumer wants good communication. They want a real estate agent that's going to listen to them. And remember, selling their property, selling your home is a very emotional time. So taking the time to find out what their needs and wants are, because this is also great information to get to if you're doing a listing presentation or trying to get the business, right? Really listening to what that client wants, what's important to them. And you're going to tailor your sales pitch or whatever specifically to the needs of that seller. Obviously, things like, I want to make a lot of money, but why are you moving? Do you moving because you have to move closer to family? Are you moving because you have a new job? What is that change? And then taking that into consideration as you go through this process. It also builds trust. Now, another thing to think about too with communication, at the beginning of any relationship that you're establishing, you want to find out how and how often that person wants to be communicated with. Do they want telephone calls? Do they want text messages? Do they want emails? Do they want a weekly status update? Do they want a daily status update? Get that information at the beginning, because that'll build a really strong relationship with your seller or your buyer. Second thing is negotiation. Obviously, I think one of the things most consumers think about when they think of real estate agents, they're going to negotiate the contract for me. But for sellers in particular, the number one thing they want from their listing agent is going to be negotiations. So the key with that for you is to understand all the contracts. We have the FAR bar as is, the FAR bar residential, the addendums. And by the way, I was on a call with Florida, or a webinar with the Florida Association of Realtors. Hopefully you were on it last week as well. And they say their plan is by May 31st, they're probably going to have some updates to the contract, to addendums, et cetera. So you want to keep up, make sure that you are educating yourself on that on a constant basis. It makes you a better realtor. And then there's no surprises for your seller, buyer, whoever. But know these contracts and understand, what the seller's rights and obligations are, what the buyer's rights and obligations are, because they're going to look to you to help them determine, is this the best deal? Do you have my best interest at heart? And the number one way to do that really is to know what is being signed and what the agreements are and how to negotiate properly. Another good rule of thumb on this with negotiations is to use a CRM, and I think we touch on it in a little and later in this class, the customer relation management systems, and keep like log sheets, or not log sheets, but contact information and selling styles and buying styles, or negotiation styles of different realtors, because that's a really good tool to have in your arsenal when you have, you're like, I'm running into this realtor that I did business with a year ago. Let me look and see how is their negotiation skills, because that is going to be a key for you in terms of knowing how to talk to them, knowing how often to talk to them, etc., and what they're going to fight for. Partnerships, obviously, we've got a wide variety of people we work with in our industry. For you, title agents, attorneys, lenders, surrounding yourself with good quality people. I can tell you, Wendy, I've been working with her for 5 years now. Fantastic. I love Title Now. Wendy is like on it. You can call her. She'll probably hate me to say this, but you can call her at 2 a.m. She'll probably answer. Don't do it, but if you get the idea. But she's just awesome.
Karen.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I know. But yeah, she's fantastic, and that is a good reflection of you. Plus, you need those partners because you don't want to talk about title. You want to send them over to Wendy. She's going to help them through the title process. But those are not only, a reflection of how you do business, but they also can be recommendations for future customers that they may have, right? So Wendy might have a friend that's looking in a certain area, and she's like, I've been working with this realtor on several files. I'll refer some business to her. Those are all kinds of the things that, in this industry in particular, building good, solid relationships with good quality people is key. And not even just in the industry. Think about the people that are influencers, not on Instagram, but in general in life. Maybe a doctor, your hairdresser, a bartender, people that talk to a lot of people are good influencers to, you've got a favorite restaurant, the hostess, and let them know you're a real estate agent. She's going to talk to people. She might find out who's looking for a home. She's like, I've got somebody comes in here all the time. They're really awesome. Those are all influencers. They're all people you want to build around you to help you get leads. Maintaining relationships. I think this is number one across the board for you to continue growing your reach, in particular, keeping in touch with people that have bought from you previously. That's all I can tell you, because they're going to sell. The average turn time, I think, for people once they buy a home, their average is about 9 years someone lives there. So if you have a client relation management system, a CRM, that you keep up to date and you keep in touch with people, you'll see, oh, they're getting near that 8-year period, 7-year, 9-year, whatever. Let's start reaching out to them more. But 60% of the business comes from past clients for top producers. 60%, easy money, right? The other thing, and I think I have the stat in here, is something like 75% of people do not remember their realtor's name 1 year after closing, whether it's the listing agent or the buyer's agent. And that's pretty sad. So we want to make sure we're keeping in touch. If you're using a CRM, it's all automated. You can, and listen, I get this all the time. Nobody reads the emails that I send. Nobody, it doesn't matter. Your name is coming across their screen, and you want to not only do that, you want them on social media. You know, you're posting things consistently. We'll talk more about that in the marketing piece, but know that you have to keep in touch. Maintaining relationships is easy money. It's easy for someone to, oh yeah, I've worked with this real estate agent. You know, I consider her a friend now. Call her, you know, or whatever. So think about that. There's HubSpot, there's Salesforce, there's Follow Up Boss. There's a wide variety of CRMs out there. I know HubSpot's really driven for real estate agents. So is Follow Up Boss, but use what is out there because it will just save you time, money, and you're not running around trying to find people. They're in your database, so to speak. Having an online presence, you have to have an online presence. I don't know if we did the Google Business Profile class for you. I feel like we did, but if we didn't, I think that maybe we do that next month. You have to be online. You have to have that presence. If I'm Googling your name, if I Google real estate agent and you don't pop up, you don't pop up. If I Google your name and you don't have anything out there, it's sort of like, what is this person doing? Are they new to the business? Do they know? I mean, it's how we work. And in fact, like during COVID in particular, we saw, you know, the rise of or fall of businesses because they didn't have an online presence. You want a website that shares info about you. You definitely need some social media platforms. Like we're going to touch more on that. Like I said, that Google Business Profile, you have to have reviews. You have to have, you know, even if it's a bad review, it's still a review. No reviews is worse than a bad review. You want to make sure that you answer those reviews if they're good, bad, whatever. Having that interaction. I was looking for an electrician yesterday, which is a nightmare in its own right. But I'm looking at, you know, I went on Nextdoor. It's like, anyone have an electrician? Maybe 5 or 6 responses. And then I went and looked at all the reviews. And I saw some negative reviews that the electrician didn't answer. I saw another electrician that did answer the negative reviews. There's like, and really took the time to be like, listen, I'm trying to build my brand. I'm trying to do this. Sorry about that was your experience or whatever it was. And sometimes the complaints are just ridiculous, but that's all about the Google Business Profiles. I want to find out if I want to use you. I need to see that people have liked you, they've reviewed you, and that you've responded. Same on social media, but the Google Business Profile, if you don't have one, it's very easy to claim it, very easy to set it up. And you need to, every time you are interacting with someone, ask for reviews. And then obviously be professional on your online. You know, we're getting into, you know, the political season. Don't get involved in that. Don't get in fights with people. It's not worth it. I want to see that you are talking about your business, not other stuff. Neighborhood knowledge. Obviously getting market research, what's happening in the neighborhood. Lots of things are happening here in Florida. We have a lot of businesses moving in. We have a lot of people moving out. We have a lot of people moving in. We became the 3rd most populous state a couple of years ago because everyone's moving to Florida. So things to think about: who are the builders in the area? How many days are properties on the market? What are those price ranges they're selling for the quickest? MLS has this hot sheets that shows listing events, new listings, price changes, etc. Florida Realtors on their site, floridarealtors.org has SunStats, which info on pricing in your area. And what are the trends in other parts of the state? You know, are there, for a while, it was like, where's that Google plant going to be built? What else is coming here? You know, find out what's going on in terms of commercial properties. What's being built? Are they converting office buildings to rental space? All of those things will impact who's buying, who's selling. And you want to have all the information as possible. Pricing and the time in the market, especially for listing, that's going to be key, because that's the first question your seller is probably going to ask you. How much can I get? How long is it going to take to sell it? And you can get all of that at your fingertips online. Pricing properly, giving the seller a tangible number to work with. A good practice for you, if you're not sure, is to go on the MLS, look at some properties, you know, see what their amenities are, what those details are, guess a price, and then check to see if it's in line with what it's being sold for. Not a bad idea, because the prices have actually, I think, gone down a little bit. They went from like a super high last summer. They're predicting to kind of even out this year. So take a practice on that, because I'm seeing homes right now that are listed that I'm like, that is way above the value of it. And now they've been on the market for 6 months. And it's because the seller saw the neighbor down the street 6 months ago sell it for that price, and they want the same thing. You have to be realistic about the pricing. It's also a very, very touchy emotional subject, because remember, the seller thinks their home is their castle and they think it's worth a lot more than it is. So you have to be realistic, which leads us into kind of that communication, but also being able to break bad news, doing damage control when there's a major issue that can end the deal, and talking about it as soon as possible. Proactive communication. You don't want to wait to give bad news. You know, think about if you're a parent and you know, you're in your house and all of a sudden you look over and your favorite coffee mug is smashed on the floor. You're going to be mad. But if your kid came up to you and said, I broke your coffee mug, you know, and then I'm cleaning it up, whatever. And then it's like, okay, that was a proactive communication. You did it, you know, you admitted to it, whatever. You're not going to be as angry. It's the same thing here, as silly as it sounds. But if there's an issue, that's where that communication needs to come in. People will be less angry and have more respect for you if you're able to break the bad news sooner. Budgeting. Out of the top 5 reasons businesses fail, 2 are related to money. You don't know what you're spending versus what you're making. And listen, I'm not the queen of budgeting by any means, but when it comes to this is how much I make, and especially for you in real estate, how many houses do you have to sell? Because you're all commission, right? How many homes do I have to sell based on those commission rates to make the salary I want? And then on top of that, what am I spending money on, whether it's personal or business? Because in the business, you know, and even in your real estate business, maybe you're buying lunches for people or taking them out for coffee, or, you know, buying a gift for them. All that has to be taken into consideration, because look, I mean, top 5 reasons a business has failed, 2 are related to money. You don't know what you're spending. You don't know what you're making. So there are some formulas out there for how to set your income goal. And it is based on the number of homes you have to sell, based off the, you know, average home price, the average commission, and then ties that into how many people, how many prospects do you have to meet in a year or in a month or in a week in order to reach that sale goal. So it is something to consider, but if you just throw a number up there and you have no idea how to get there, it's not good. And there's also planning for, you know, other things that are happening in the economy or the industry. Number 10 are open houses. Turning the nosy neighbor into a potential seller. Think about it. I mean, we have, every time there's an open house in my neighborhood, I'm like, I'll see the same old neighbors going in, checking it out, because then they come back and gossip to the rest of us what the house is selling for and what they did inside and all of that, which is good intel. But maybe they're not ready to sell, but they're in there. So ask them. So what, oh, you're in the neighborhood. Fantastic. Why don't I make an appointment and come to your house and see, what we could get for your property? It's not a bad ask. They've already come in. They're already communicating with you. So build that trust with them. And even if they're not ready now, maybe you've planted the seed. But whatever you do, and whatever prospect you meet, by the way, any person you meet, the general rule for marketing is every person you meet could potentially be a prospect. So they should be in your CRM. They should be in your social media as contacts, friends, whatever. And so you're in constant communication with them. That's how we build relationships. All right, some social media tips. So according to National Association of Realtors, 77% of realtors use some sort of social media. Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn are the top three, which I really hope that you use YouTube as well. YouTube has something like, what is it? A billion, 300 billion followers, or people go on YouTube to look at videos. So basically everyone in the world, and the content is outstanding. I mean, there you can create pages, you can do whatever, but we'll touch on some of the other social medias that are on here. The goal is to build meaningful relationships and get more business. So we're using social media not to post, cat memes or whatever. It's really to use it as a marketing tool. And think about it. I mean, for the most part, it's free unless you do like paid advertising, but you post things, you get likes, comments, shares, you like, comment, share, you interact with whoever you're talking to or whoever's you're friends with, and you build those relationships. Gives you a window into the lives of others and for them to get into yours. Now, the general consumer experience these days when they are deciding if they want to buy a product or use a service is they'll see an ad, maybe, but they don't just go buy it. They do the research. They start looking at social media. They start reading comments. They want to know that they're making the best, most informed decision. And it's a whole process. It's not, back in the day, oh, I see an ad for the cereal. I'm going to go buy that cereal. Now I want to know more about it. Is it ethically sourced or whatever it is? Those are the things that most consumers, the majority of consumers, want to see. And they do that with everything. They do that with real estate service. I just did it with electricians. So they're going to look at for when they're trying to find out which realtor to use, they want to get as much info as possible about you. Am I aligned with your values that we would work well together? So some social media tips. Facebook, you can get a professional page that gives you access to business features like analytics. Every algorithm for Facebook favors posts that get a lot of engagement. So ask questions to drive comments, etc. Set up Q&A sessions, do Facebook Live events, all of that to get people to engage with you. Because the more they engage, the more your posts pop up at the front and center of somebody's feed. So answering people's questions in groups, Facebook Live, like I said, it's all about connections, not to give a sales pitch, but to build relationships. And there's a lot of information about how to use social media in each different platform. There's a Facebook one, Instagram, X, Snapchat, whatever it is. And they all have like really good advice on how to properly use social media. LinkedIn, you can stay up to date or make sure your profile is up to date for sure. Great opportunity to network with other real estate agents, current clients, and other brokerages. There's a lot of information out there. This is a great place to post blogs, disseminate information to other realtors, to other business people. Because also at the end of the day, don't forget, business people buy and sell homes. Instagram, Visual platforms, so must be visually compelling. You want to provide details regarding the property and contact info. Make sure you have your contact info on all your social media, your email, your cell phone, so somebody, your website, so people can reach out to you. 98% of millennials search for a home online. They're searching for information. They're looking for answers to their questions. You don't want to do in-your-face marketing. Nobody likes that. That's not how we operate in this society. You want to use social media to walk people through the closing process, provide information for they're looking for, etc. Be the source for your potential clients. We'll talk about that when we get into thinking outside the box. 70%, that's it. 70% of homeowners can't remember their real estate agent's name 1 year after closing. That's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. I remember my real estate agent from 10 years ago because she sends me an email. We're friends on Facebook. She posts a lot on LinkedIn, just information, like real estate information, and I'll always remember her name. She'll send me and it's coming up in June, she'll send me an email that will say, you know, it's been however many years. Let me know if you're ready to sell, or if you know of anybody who's ready to sell. She does, and that's all it takes. And it's like, yeah, of course I remember Gail's name. But 70% of people don't. And that's because no one's keeping in touch with them. You want to choose your platforms wisely. Can you manage all of them? I know people that have every single account, and you know, if you're not using Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and you have an account, first of all, take it down if you're not using it, because that's one of the most easily hacked into ones. Just a side note, I had an account which I thought I deactivated, and I got an email 2 days ago that said, you know, someone's trying to log in from Sweden into your Twitter account. And I'm like, I don't even have that anymore. So I went in and saw that I actually was still up and running, and someone had been posting and sharing and doing all this stuff off my account that I hadn't used for 3 years. So I deactivated it, blocked all this stuff, but it was like, that is scary. I'm not using it. Take it down. And use what you can manage, like Facebook and Instagram, easy. They feed off each other, right? You post something on Facebook, it posts to Instagram. Your key though is to make sure you're checking both sites and responding and liking, etc. And what platforms are your target audience on? Maybe if you're in commercial, LinkedIn's the way to go. Your posting has to be consistent and strategic. When are your clients on social media? You know, depends. Maybe it's a different generational thing. It's a trial and error thing. When are you getting likes, comments, and shares? That's the hours you should be posting. You also have to interact. You can't just post something and say, I never get anything out of it. You have to respond. You have to like other people's stuff. Somebody comments, you better respond with an answer. If somebody likes something, reach out to them. Saw you like this, whatever it is. Also the strategic piece and consistent piece. You know, I get this one all the time. Well, I posted something last month, and I, you know, waited like 6 weeks, posted something. That is useless. Why? Don't even bother. You have to have a schedule. You have to have a calendar. There's things like Hootsuite, and other social media resources that you basically put whatever you want to post, and they'll do the calendar for you and post at certain days and times. Your job still is to go and interact and monitor though. But it is a great marketing tool. This was one of the articles on Florida Realtors. I liked it as a really short one-pager about how to use social media to best visibility, and he called it SWEAT. Studying your ideal clients. Like I said, that generational study, I think it should be out within the next week or so if it's not out already. And comes out every year, and it is like if you were born, between 1940 and 1960, you're a baby boomer. Or actually, I think it's 1945, 1965, you're a baby boomer, and we've polled all these baby boomers, and this is what they want. Where are your clients? What are they doing? What are they looking for? Because a millennial, that's the majority of our first-time home buyers. Okay, what are they looking for? Our number one sellers are baby boomers. What are they doing? Who's winning in other markets? What are your competitors doing? Escalating your activity, how to build that momentum, adding value. We're not just, like I said, posting silly things on your social media accounts. You have to bring value to what you're posting. There's a lot of stuff happening in real estate here in Florida in particular, not even just that National Association of Realtors proposed settlement. You're talking about all these recent laws that went into effect like last year, the new condo laws that we're still muddling through that are going to be, inspection reports and structural reserve studies all have to be done by the end of this year. That's, a few months out, 8 months more to go, that these things need to be done on older condominiums. That's the kind of stuff people want to know about. What are the challenges in selling real estate? And then take the long view. Remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So that comes back to that posting strategically and consistently, and it's trial and error. Is no one liking my posts? All right, what am I posting that I need to change? Am I posting at the right times? Farming, that's where you pick that area and focus on making a name for yourself in that area, becoming the top realtor of choice. I am in a community, I don't know how many homes, there's a lot. Kind of several outside of Orlando. So there's just a bunch of communities here. In Orange County is massive. So we've got a couple realtors in my neighborhood that live probably 3 blocks from me either way. And they have chosen like this area because there's a lot of properties as their farming area. And so they're the signs you see anytime a house goes up for sale. That's the idea behind it. They're local community real estate agents. Things you want to know, though: how many homes sell per year in that farm area? Will you have to incur higher costs because higher property values? Consider picking a subdivision with high turnover areas. My neighborhood, I'm in one of the best school districts here in the state. And so it's a desired area, great place to farm. And so think about that. What are the amenities, like a good school district that people are trying to get into and people are looking to sell? Marketing ideas for farming, the home sold stats, just listed or just sold flyers, neighborhood newsletters, everyone's got one. Those brochure box flyers, even though the neighbors take them, remember, it plants that seed. Doing open houses, planting the seed with the nosy neighbors, and doing neighborhood videos. This is good content, by the way, for social media. This is what's going on around town. I'm your local realtor. Posting that stuff like on YouTube. So if I'm Googling a certain area and your videos come up, it's like, oh, this real estate agent is out on the town showing me how great it is to live in this community. Thinking outside the box, you've got a wide variety of things that you can look for, maybe a potential seller. So let's go through these. Unlisted inventory. Identify sellers that currently do not have a listing but plan on selling in the near future. So we talked about the open house, right? I know maybe you're not selling now, but hey, let's get your contact information. I'm going to engage with you through social media, emails, whatever, until you are ready to sell. Also, it helps you build awareness of any properties coming up. Maximizing your sphere of influence, using that CRM. Search your database for properties in an area that a buyer might be interested in. Then reach out to those contacts to see if they're selling or if they have a neighbor that might be. Your database is your gold mine, right? So maybe you have a buyer that is like, well, I'm looking for this, this, and this, and specifically, and you're like, oh, put it in your database, and you pull up, oh, Sally seller or whatever, she bought from me a year ago. She's in this great neighborhood. Sounds kind of like right up the alley of what you're interested in, buyer. Let me reach out to her. She might be interested in selling, or neighbors talk to each other, believe it or not. Maybe she knows one of her neighbors who's looking to sell. Great way to obviously keep in touch with a former client, but also see what's out there. Absentee owners. Now, I know we have seller vacant land fraud that is running rampant here in Florida, and that's where, you know, property owners don't live in the property. They live in another state. They don't, or they live in another city in Florida. They live in another country and they own property here in Florida. That's an absentee owner. And we've had a lot of fraud with it. Because all you have to do is go on the property appraiser's website to see where does that person live that owns that property. And if it doesn't match with the address you're looking up, that's an absentee owner. But maybe you have former clients, right, that don't live here. And so this is a great opportunity for you to reach out to them, like, hey, you know, I know you're using this property as a VRBO or Airbnb or whatever, or you're using it, you're not here all the time. We have this fraud issue going on in Florida. So you can register with the property appraiser's websites if there's any change in your ownership of the property, or, you know, if you're interested in just not dealing with it, maybe we look at selling it now. Or even better, you know, totally forgot what I was going to say. Completely blanked out. But to give them an idea of, you know, oh, that's what I was going to say. Or maybe they don't know the value of what's going on here in Florida. Your property values have gone up. You know, here's some options. So reaching out to your absentee owners that you did business with before. I mean, you can do unsolicited, but, you know, just be cautious of that, because I think everyone understands there's a lot of fraud. But if you know, because you have it in your CRM, who your clients are that don't live here, say, hey, we've got a fraud issue, or this is your value of your property. But if you're keeping in touch with them on a constant basis and have been, then it's a lot easier. Expired listings. It's a contract, right? So it does eventually expire between the realtor that listed in that homeowner. So you could reach out to that homeowner and say, see, you have an expired listing, because most sellers will relist, and give them your presentation on why they should try you for this next go round. For sale by owner, about 8% of homes are sold FSBO, and about 10% of those will switch to a realtor. So it's not a huge piece, but here's a great opportunity. And I do have real estate agent friends that do this. They'll see a for sale by owner. They'll stop by that house and say, I see you're selling for sale by owner, you know, not trying to talk you out of it, but, you know, I want to offer my, you know, services or whatever. If you have questions on things, be more than happy to help you. And during that process, kind of talking to that homeowner, maybe sliding in some of the headaches and whatever about not using, why you know, not using a real estate agent is going to get you into, you know, this and that. Those are all kind of the marketing tips, but things to think about. Distressed properties, REOs. We don't have a huge inventory of distressed properties because foreclosures are not high right now. They don't predict them to be, but we may see some short sales. Lots of people bought overvalued properties. They got mortgages out. Maybe they're thinking, you know, maybe they're going to be underwater. So get an SFR designation from National Association of Realtors, learn more about those distressed properties. If you do ever want to get into REO or something, you need to get a contract with a servicer like a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, and it's a process to go through, but then they assign properties to you. getting one property here and there is not going to be worth it. You need to have a bunch of properties, but it's a really interesting area. I will tell you, next year, 2025, commercial properties, office and retail, they're predicting something like, I think it's like $1 trillion worth of debt is going to become due by 2025. So they're thinking we're going to see a lot of commercial foreclosure. If you're interested in doing something like that, but it's not a bad idea to look at what's out there. And then even if you aren't working for a servicer on their distressed property, you know, recognize even the seller that might be a potential short sale. That's important, asking the right questions. Or if you have a buyer even and they want to buy a distressed property, understanding the ins and outs of those. So educating yourself on that is important. Former agents listing, maybe you can talk to your broker, see if you can go through former agents listings that left the business or left the firm. This one's a really interesting one. Targeting divorcing or divorced couples, because 31% of divorcing couples will list within 6 months of filing for a divorce. So you get the listing and potentially 2 buyers. There are, with Facebook, you know, people put what their relationship status is. So you can create ads for separated, complicated, divorced. You can, if you have free time, go to the courts in wherever county you're in and look up, you know, what's divorcing couples. I don't know if you want to go that crazy, but you can do simply something like a Facebook ad. And then you have targeted ads that are like, you know, I can't think of, there's a group in Dallas and that's what they focus on, are like divorcing couples, and their tagline something like, you know, we help you through the transition and make it whatever, blah, 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 about selling this property during a divorce. But that's the idea. You have the ad, they come to your page, they see that you're, you know, Switzerland when it comes to this thing, you're just trying to get the property sold for them. Inherited homes, you've got over 1 million people inherit a home every year. A huge majority end up selling because of repairs, location, etc. You can find out if there's a probate case by going onto county clerk's website and narrowing it down to probate or inheritance. It's public data, easy to access. Now, there are, as creepy as it sounds, but there might be something even like obituaries where you look to see, you know, I know they do this like in like New York and stuff, where if you're trying to find an apartment, the people read obituaries and then see if their apartment's free. It's sad but true, but it's something to think about. You can even just go on the circuit court and just say, or clerk of the court, and say, here are some probate situations. Because a lot of times, especially in Florida, we have a lot of elderly people that live here, their family lives elsewhere. Kids don't want to take care of the property, they want to sell it. I've had 3 friends over the past year who parents have passed or they moved into a nursing home, and now they've got the property and they have to do, they just want to get rid of it because it's, you know, needs to be updated, blah, 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 blah. And that's something you could potentially be looking into. Property taxes. Now, if you didn't pay your property taxes on March 31st, April 1st, they're delinquent. And guess what? That's all public record, because the property tax assessor is going to sell that delinquency, not your property, just the delinquency, at the tax certificate sale between now and I think it's June 2nd. So you can go on the assessor's website and look at those properties that have delinquencies. Reach out to the homeowner, let them know that they have delinquent property taxes, that within 2 years, they could lose their house altogether to a property tax sale. Maybe now is the time to help them get out of the situation by selling their property. Last section we're going to talk about is listing presentations. And this is the info the real estate agent shares with sellers during a listing appointment, you can leave a leave behind the PowerPoint. You can do a PowerPoint, you can do a PDF, you can do a booklet, you can do a binder, you can do whatever you want, but leave something behind that goes through what you're going to do for them, what their needs are, etc. So it helps facilitate the appointment, provides a more structured approach, presents the realtor's services, benefits, and reasons for choosing them over competitors. Now, you don't want to leave a 40-page book behind, and there are some rules to it, which we'll look at. There's some also really good videos and other information on the Florida Association of Realtors regarding listing presentations. And hopefully you do use them because it shows that you put in some time. It's a great marketing tool and it's a leave behind. So if your seller's undecided, they have this booklet with your face on it, hopefully, that they're like, oh, let me look through it again when you're not there. And then once again, planting the seed, maybe giving them more information rather than just walking through the house like, I think you can get for this for this. It's a more structured approach, which, remember, selling your home is a very emotional time. So having some sort of structure and some formal approach may ease that transition. So per National Association of Realtors, a top deciding factor sellers use in choosing their agent is reputation. So you want to build and affirm that reputation. How do you do that? Stats, reviews, all of those good things, reviews in particular, are trust indicators. Even though I don't know this person who wrote this review, it tells me a couple things. It tells me they took the time to write the review because they were either impressed with the business or not. And also that you did a good job or whatever. And if you're responding to it, there's my trust for you too. So a couple things, you can find out who the sellers are and what their expectations are. Send over a survey, a questionnaire, like just want to get to know you so I can create the best plan for you on the sale of your home. Send them a pre-listing package with goodies, whatever, with your branding on it. 5 steps in the listing presentation are to build a rapport, develop a needs analysis, present the info, handle any objections, and to close the deal. So the first one, building rapport, telling your story, right? Building trust by telling them who you are, and then finding out who they are. And so there's this great acronym called FORD. It's family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And it's the 4 things you need to ask somebody if you're in sales to get to know them, to build that trust. F, tell me about your family. O, your occupation. What do you do for a living? R, your recreation. What do you do in your free time? D, your dreams. Like, what's your dream, whatever, vacation, whatever it is. Those are all going to help build that relationship. So use them when you're talking to people. If you're sitting down with the seller, remember, highly emotional time. Tell me about your family, because then it steps into our next thing, your needs analysis. Why are you moving? What do you love about your house? And ask questions to determine their motivation, because those are the things you're going to want to highlight. Remember, someone's home is their castle. Presenting the info should be really short. You want to pick 3 things that the seller identified as important, discuss how you will address those needs, and then 2 things that you want to make sure they know you do. So it should be really succinct. It should not be, like I said, a 40-page novel about selling their home. It should be like, these are the 3 things that were concerning you. Here are 2 things, additional things that I think you should know. You want to handle objections, answer questions, and address any potential issues. How would you handle the issue? And that can be your listing presentation. A good rule of thumb is, if you're asking a question, you should know the answer to it, right? So preparing yourself, that's also the help of a listing presentation. It helps you prepare for that conversation. Will give you some insight, especially if you're asking the right questions of your seller. And then finally, close, ask for the business. We've been through this whole process. Let's what do you think, whatever you want to do, in which we have now these listing presentations, scripts, and dialogue. And it comes from this site called The Real Estate Trainer. They have a bunch of different scripts on there, but I sort of liked these because I just think it's a good way to, if you're not sure how to have a conversation or ask the right questions, these are just some ideas for you. So script number 1, before viewing the home. I'm going to walk through the home with you looking at it through the eyes of a buyer, speaking aloud and candidly about what I see as a buyer would. Is that all right with you? What I'm hearing from you is you want me to be honest, blah, blah, blah. Would you mind quickly filling out this home seller information questionnaire while I look at the home through the buyer's eyes? Remember, we want to say it that way. Asking how honest you want them to be. Sitting down at the table, besides price, what else do you want to know? What questions do they have? And what are you most concerned about selling your home? All that needs analysis. Finding out, listening to that seller. So here's the link for that. And I'm sending this presentation over to Wendy so she can forward it on to all of you as well. And finally, I think the key is when you list, you last, especially as we see these market changes, where it's customary now for the seller to pay the commission. It's always been negotiable, though. Seller doesn't have to pay, never has had to pay. It just is the way we've kind of ended up. Seller could continue to pay the commission, even if this proposed settlement goes through. It doesn't matter, right? The key is when you're listing, you're going to definitely be guaranteed that sale. And you may not have to muddle through all the rest of the stuff if you're a buyer's agent. So hopefully, I'm hoping a lot of these ideas resonate with some of you, give you some thoughts and insights. Go on the Florida Association of Realtors. Like I said, they're updating this stuff all the time. With, even like social media marketing ideas for listings and all kinds of things that I think can help you grow your business. And with that, that's all I have. Any questions? I don't need your emails. I'm going to send this over to Wendy, like I said, and then she can forward it on to whoever. That good, Wendy?
Yes, that's good. I'll go ahead. If you forward it to me, I'll go ahead and send it to Jen, and Jen will distribute it to everyone. Thank you so much, Karen. This was, as always, so full of information, keeping us up to date. And I'm gonna get with Jen and her team about doing the Google profile class, because yes, that's a
All right,
great
perfect.
class to follow up with this. So we'll
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you so much, Karen. Definitely, I agree with you. I mean, I think having a Google profile, it really sets us apart, because that just means that people are able to research you and see that you're serious with your business. And lately I've been doing some research as well on the marketing and how impactful. It's not just about the post on social media; it's everything. It's the whole effort behind the consistency in how we market ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
So I appreciate, your what you brought to the table today. Thank you for your time. You and Wendy are amazing.
Thank
So,
you.
does
Thank
anybody
you.
else have any questions? Did you guys enjoy this class? Let's see. Everybody's a little quiet today, but definitely everybody always turns around and do requests for the recording, and they request for the presentations later on. But yes, thank you so much for being with us today, and looking forward to our next class.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of
Thank
your week. All
you.
right,
Thank you,
take care.
Jenny.
Thank you as well. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Have a nice day. Ciao. Bye bye.